Okay, so let's begin with our advanced material building. Most of the materials that I will build are actually suggestions from you customers, and the first thing I want to build is some sort of a really nice, somewhat scratched material that has some sort of unevenness in the surface, and that could really look good. Okay, so let's create a new material, and you can actually scale this window to be a little bit smaller. And the first thing that I want to know about my material is which is its most prominent feature. And the most prominent feature is almost always a color. And in this case is possibly a reflection, but I always tend to start with color and proceed from there. I will also just a small notice. I will do test renders. So if any test render will require some more time, I will simply cut that and you will be able to follow really quickly. So there will be almost no waiting time for you to see the result. Okay. Really prior to recording these lessons, I picked this color, which would be some sort of dark orangey, really dark gray orange color, okay, which could be some sort of titanium material or something like that. And I'll load it in a color channel and do a test render now, and you will see actually that I have to apply that material. Okay, so let's apply it to our test sphere and see what we get. And we have that color completely on our surface. The next thing I want to define is the reflection, because materials like metals are almost always reflective. So let me enable this reflection channel, and if I do a test render now, you will actually see this reflection that is 100% completely eats up that color value. I don't want to do that. I just want to add a little bit of that color into these reflections. I will tune down this to say like something like 80 maybe, and see what we get. I think it's good enough. Maybe just drop it to 1%. I don't like those round numbers. Everybody uses round numbers, and I think that I have to be somewhat different, so I always use these numbers close to 9 and 81 rather than using 80 or 60 or something like that. So with this blurriness, I want to add some sort of irregularity and blur to a surface. I will enable it and try with maybe 10% first and see what do I get. You see, we already covered those minimum maximal samples, and I will play with them a bit later. So you see my metal became a little bit more blurred. I actually want some more, so let's try something like 20%. And if I don't get satisfactory results, if I feel that I need more definition or something like that, I will increase this minimum and maximum samples in the actual render time. While testing, I will leave them so I have a really speedy render here. Okay, I think this is good and it's coming along nicely. Well, the last thing I want to add is some sort of scratches and irregularities also hidden in the surface, and I can do that with noise map. And in this case I will load a noise here in the bump channel. So let me add a noise here. So I will go here and select noise, and currently see that this is not really looking good, and I really don't want that result. I want the surface to have really small scratches just in one direction. So I will probably have to scale some of these values. So this is a global scale. This will scale the texture down or up completely on globally. I can show you that if I enter here 10. This is what will happen, and I actually scaled complete texture. There are so many options here. You can actually set the space for that shader to be something other than texture, but I really advise you to leave it at the texture always for start. Okay, so this is not what I want. I will disable that render now and show you some techniques that I use to actually get what I want. So always force the application to give you the results you want. Don't be a slave of the settings. Think in advance what you want to achieve, and don't think that Sina 4D is not capable. It is more than capable for anything you can imagine. You just have to know how to tell her what to do. I will put this scale back to 100% so I can actually see, and I will right click on this preview guy and set a flat 2D projection so I can see how this noise looks when it's flat. You can even actually right click and open a new window and scale it, something like this, so you really can see detailedly what's going on in your shader. Okay, so to scale, to get the scratches, I have to elongate this noise in one direction, okay, or probably in two, so it just squashes down in one of these values. So let me just show you. I will change this relative scale to 500 here, to 1 here, and to 500 here. And you actually see now the results. There is some sort of a really squashed gradient here. And now if I'm close to result that I want, I can simply cycle these noises and see what fits me the best. So prior to recording, actually rather than explaining all these noises, it's really easier to cycle them and see exactly what results they give. I found this last one, Zeta, to be suitable. And the only problem I have left now is that I want to get rid of most of this. I just want to have these scratches partially on random places. I can clip that gray values. You see there is a clipping option here, both low clip and high clip. If I tune down this high clip a bit, watch what happens. You see some gray values disappear. Let me try even more. Something like this. Okay, so now even more disappear. Let me try something even like 50%. So I will clip the most of the shader and just have this random scratched values. Let me do a test render now and see what do I get. I will just go back here. You can navigate within your material with that. And I believe the strength will be too much. But let's see. It's coming along nicely, but it's really pronounced effect. I don't really like those pronounced effects. I really like subtle effect. Maybe you would like something different. So I will tune down this to, let's say, even maybe 2%. I believe that would be good enough. And I really like how this is coming along. And now when you have the strength set and the exact noise that you want set here in the bump channel, there is a nice little setting here that is called delta. Increasing this will actually, let me show you now, and you will see what that setting really does. Increasing this, it will really sharpen up that effect. So you can increase this value. I think something around 200 would be good enough. Increasing this value will give you sharper, more crisp results, and it's best used on still images. If you have some sort of a flickering in your animations, and especially with texture, try lowering this delta value. Okay, this will help you a lot. Okay, this one looks really nice. You can now even add a distort effect. Okay, so you can distort that a bit. And you could distort it with maybe another noise, and even bring that to the scratches to appear more random and to give it a more realistic look. But I'm really happy as it turns right now. So here you go. There is your first advanced shader, and it's scratched metal. I just want to see, you see this specular forming here? You can play with metallic shaders to get that really an isotropic look like this. Let me disable this. You would have to disable here under your main light. You would have to disable this show in reflection. So let me show you, and you will get completely different results, and there is no specular here. I did that because I'm going to load a Lumus shader in the color channel, so I can mimic those anisotropic sketches. So let me do just that. And I'll set the color to exactly the color I set in the color channel. And I can leave these speculars as they are and enable this anisotropy. And here we will have a band of light. And I will enable these planar settings. It always mimics the metallic surfaces most realistic. Let me try a render. So here we go. You see this effect, sort of like a brushed specular. You can even increase that effect, like maybe double this up times 2 and maybe this times 2, and we will see what we get. So you always have to play with your shaders to get really results. There is no real recipe that one number will work on some generic material. Okay, you really have to experiment with that. So we have some nice anisotropic specular here, and it depends what you want. Let me show you just why I disabled this show in reflection guy. If I enable it, you will see the problem. And here is the problem. This is the real specular and this is the faked specular. So it doesn't look very realistic. There is something telling you it's something wrong with it. And I believe we are finished for our first metal shader. We can now actually do a better render here. So we can enable higher quality for our shadows here. So something like maybe 100 here and 1000 here for the samples. It's probably way too much, but give it some time to render. And here we go. You can see the results. The shadows are much more better. They're better defined. The gradient between really dark areas and lighter areas are really good. But just be cautious. These area shadows and this number of samples and accuracy can really bog down your machine. So we'll talk about optimization later, but let's leave it for now as it is. So let's go with our next guy.